There is a terrifying silence in the modern relationship, a void where your desires go to die because you have been taught to be too polite, too sterile, and too safe. You look at her and you feel a distance, even when she is right next to you, because you are playing by rules that biology does not recognize. You are exhausted from trying to be the nice guy who respects boundaries so much that he becomes invisible. Deep down, you know she craves something else, something darker, something primal, something that makes her heart race not out of comfort, but out of a thrilling suspension of control. But she will never tell you this. She cannot tell you this because society has shamed her for wanting it, and she is waiting for you to be perceptive enough to just do it. If you leave this video now, you are choosing to remain in the friend zone of your own marriage or relationship. You are choosing safety over passion. But if you stay, if you commit to understanding the shadow side of female psychology, you will unlock a level of attraction you didn't think was possible. Do not let your ego prevent you from learning the truth. Hit that subscribe button right now, not for me, but for the version of yourself that commands respect. Commit to watching this entirely, because we are about to dismantle everything you were told about being a good man. The first dirty thing: the psychology of benevolent objectification, being claimed. The first thing she secretly wants, which she will arguably deny to her grave in public conversation, is the sensation of being claimed as property. This sounds offensive to the modern ear, but we are not talking about politics here. We are talking about biology and the dark corners of arousal. In the polite world, she wants equality. In the bedroom and in the deep emotional architecture of attraction, she wants to feel possessed. This is what we call benevolent objectification. It is the distinct, dirty desire to feel that she does not belong to herself for a moment, but belongs entirely to you. When a man treats a woman with constant, sterile respect, asking permission for every touch, hesitant to offend, terrified of overstepping, he kills the polarity. He tells her subcommunication, "I am not sure if I am worthy of you." She wants you to look at her not just as a partner, but as an object of your specific, overwhelming desire. This manifests in dirty behavior that is nonverbal. It is the way you grab her waist in public, not asking but taking. It is the way you steer her through a crowd. It is the look in your eyes that says, "I could devour you right now." This triggers a biological safety mechanism. In our evolutionary history, a man who was possessive and dominant was a man who could protect his resources and his mate from external threats. When you are dirty enough to objectify her in the heat of the moment, you are signaling high testosterone and the capacity for violence, which, paradoxically, makes her feel safer than the harmless man ever could. The nice guy thinks he's being respectful by keeping his hands to himself. The man she craves understands that his touch is a claim of ownership that she is desperate to feel. However, this desire for possession is rooted in the alleviation of decision fatigue. Modern women are often high achievers, making hundreds of decisions a day. The dirty desire here is the desire to be passive. She wants you to take the burden of autonomy away from her. She wants you to make the decision of when sex happens, how it happens, and where it happens. She wants to be used in a consensual context because it allows her to shut off her hyperactive brain. When you approach her with that hunger, that slightly selfish need to satisfy yourself through her, you are actually giving her a gift. You are allowing her to let go of the steering wheel. She doesn't want a negotiation, she wants a takeover. The mistake most men make is equating this with abuse. It is not abuse, it is competence. To claim a woman requires confidence. To take her requires you to be sure of yourself. If you hesitate while trying to be dominant, it comes off as creepy. If you do it with absolute conviction, it comes off as intoxicating. She wants to feel like a prize you have won and are now enjoying. This is why ravishing is a romantic trope, but asking is not. The dirty secret is that she wants to feel powerless against your desire. She wants your desire for her to be so strong that it overrides her logic. When you act on this, do not apologize. The moment you apologize for your primal nature is the moment the spell breaks. The second dirty thing she wants is for you to destabilize her. This contradicts everything you are told in therapy. You are taught that a woman wants peace, stability, and constant reassurance. While she wants that for her long-term survival, she does not want it for her sexual desire. The dirty secret is that a relationship without anxiety is a relationship without passion. She wants you to be the source of her stress and the only cure for it. This is based on the psychological concept of intermittent reinforcement. When a lab rat presses a lever and gets food every time, it eventually gets bored and presses the lever only when hungry. But if the lever only provides food sometimes, unpredictably, the rat becomes obsessed, pressing the lever until it collapses from exhaustion. She secretly wants you to be that unpredictable lever. The dirty behavior here is the willingness to withdraw your attention and validation without warning. She wants you to look at her with cold indifference occasionally. She wants to wonder, does he still want me? This question creates a spike in dopamine that safety cannot replicate. When you are constantly available, constantly texting back instantly, and constantly verbally affirming your love, you are flooding the market with your attention, devaluing it to zero. She wants you to be a challenge that she has to work to decode. She wants the dirty feeling of emotional insecurity that forces her to chase you. This isn't about being cruel. It's about being a man who is so focused on his mission that his attention is a scarce resource. She wants to feel the thrill of earning your smile again. If you give it for free, it's worthless. The third dirty thing, the monster on a leash fantasy, controlled aggression. The third dirty thing is the manifestation of controlled aggression. Every woman deep in her primal brain suffers from a mild form of hybristophilia, the attraction to dangerous men. She does not want a weak man who is incapable of violence. She wants a monster who is capable of violence but chooses to be gentle only with her. This is the Beauty and the Beast archetype. She wants you to do things that signal physical danger, but within the container of intimacy. This means she wants you to use your physical strength to overpower her. She wants to feel the weight of your body crushing her, limiting her movement. She wants your hands near her throat, not to harm, but to signal the potential for harm. This specific desire is rooted in the test of your competence. If you are afraid of your own strength, if you treat her like glass, she feels unsafe because she knows you cannot handle the brutality of the real world. But when you handle her roughly, when you pin her down with authority, you are communicating that you are a dangerous man who has mastered his own aggression. This is incredibly arousing because it is a dirty transgression of social norms. In public, you are the civilized gentleman. In private, she wants you to strip away that civilization and show her the animal. She wants to feel small. She wants to feel overwhelmed. She wants to know that if the world ended tomorrow, the man holding her has the capacity to kill to protect her. And that capacity is demonstrated by how he dominates her in the bedroom. She wants to look in your eyes and see a flicker of something dark, something that says you are not a domesticated dog, but a wolf that has decided to sleep by her fire. Part 3. The ego, death and the adrenaline loop. The fourth dirty thing, the psychology of status inversion, strategic degradation. The fourth dirty thing she craves is the complete annihilation of her ego through what we call status inversion. In her daily life, the modern woman is often hyper-concerned with her dignity. She is a professional, a mother, a daughter, or a student who must maintain a pristine reputation. She carries the heavy burden of being respected. This constant maintenance of a high-status public image is exhausting. Therefore, the dirty thing she wants you to do is to strip that dignity away in the bedroom. She wants you to verbally and physically degrade her, not out of malice, but out of a need for catharsis. She wants to be treated like a whore because it is the only time she's allowed to stop being a lady. When you talk dirty to her, using explicit, derogatory, and ownership-based language, you are essentially giving her a vacation from her superego. You are telling her, right now, you don't have to be smart, you don't have to be good, and you don't have to be respected. You just have to be a body. This is why high-powered female executives often crave the most submissive and degraded sexual roles. They are desperate for the balance. She wants you to hold her head down, to call her names that society forbids, and to treat her orifices as tools for your pleasure. This works because of the Madonna whore complex, but flipped. She doesn't want you to see her only as a whore, but she needs you to have the capacity to turn her into one. If you are too polite to slap her or too afraid to call her a slut in the heat of the moment, you are failing to provide the release valve for her accumulated social pressure. She wants you to be the one man who doesn't put her on a pedestal, but drags her down into the mud, where she can finally feel primal, raw, and unburdened by the expectations of society. The fifth dirty thing, the fantasy of public risk, excitation transfer. The fifth dirty thing is the orchestration of public risk. This relies on a psychological phenomenon known as the excitation transfer theory. This theory states that residual physiological arousal from one source, like fear or anxiety, can be transferred and added to another source, sexual attraction. She wants you to initiate sexual acts in places where there is a legitimate risk of being caught. She wants you to touch her under the table at a dinner party, corner her in a semi-crowded elevator, or pull her into a dark corner of a parking lot. She will never ask for this because asking for it makes her sound reckless. She wants you to be the reckless one. She wants you to value your desire for her more than you value social decorum. When you risk social shame to touch her, you are signaling that your addiction to her is uncontrollable. This is the ultimate compliment. A safe man waits until he is in the bedroom with the door locked and the lights off. A dangerous man, the man she actually fantasizes about, pushes the boundary of safety. The dirty element here is the fear. When her heart is pounding because someone might walk in, her brain confuses that fear with intense sexual attraction toward you. It spikes her adrenaline, which heightens her sensitivity to touch. She wants you to be the director of this scene. She wants you to steer her into the risk zone without asking, "Is this okay?" If you ask, the thrill dies because the responsibility creates anxiety. If you just do it, the anxiety creates arousal. She wants to feel like an accomplice to your crime, not the planner of the event. Part 4. The biological imperative and the vulnerability threshold. The sixth dirty thing. The psychology of biological marking, visual verification. The sixth dirty thing she wants is what we will classify as biological marking. In the sanitized version of modern romance, sex is treated as a recreational activity that should be clean, tidy, and hygienic. But in the deep recesses of the female limbic system, sex is a reproductive war, and she wants you to be the victor who marks his territory. She secretly wants you to treat her body not as a temple that must remain pristine, but as a vessel for your genetic material. This refers to the explicit desire for you to finish on her or in her without the immediate, frantic rush to clean up. This is the dirty desire for visual verification. When you immediately run to the bathroom or reach for a towel the second the act is over, you are subconsciously signaling that your own desire is something gross that needs to be washed away. You are rejecting the biological reality of what just happened. She wants the opposite. She wants you to look at the mess you have made on her body with pride. She wants you to leave your mark on her face, her chest, or inside her, and she wants you to admire it. From an evolutionary standpoint, this is known as copulatory urgency. She wants to see the physical evidence of your uncontrollable lust. When you finish on her, it is a visual signal that she has successfully extracted your genetic resources. It validates her desirability as a mate. It is primal, sticky, and raw. She wants you to be greedy with your fluids. She wants you to paint her with your desire. This is why the facial is such a common fantasy. Not because of the pornography industry, but because it is the ultimate form of humiliation and worship combined. You are defacing her social mask with your biological essence. You are saying your face, which you present to the world, now belongs to me. She craves this deeply because it cements the bond. It tells her animal brain that she has been claimed, used, and marked by a high testosterone male who is not afraid of his own biology. The seventh dirty thing, the somnophilia edge, the awakening. The seventh, and perhaps most controversial, dirty thing she wants is the realization of the somnophilia fantasy, specifically the desire to be awoken by your touch. This is the sleeping beauty archetype stripped of its Disney innocence and returned to its darker roots. She wants to be asleep, vulnerable, and completely off guard, and wake up to find you already using her body. Why does she want this? Because it bypasses the inhibition wall. When a woman is fully awake, her mind is racing with insecurities. Do I look fat in this angle? Did I send that email? Is the lighting okay? Her conscious brain is the enemy of her pleasure. But when you initiate sex, while she is asleep or half asleep, you bypass her prefrontal cortex. You catch her before her defenses can go up. She wakes up into the pleasure, rather than having to work her way up to it. Furthermore, this fulfills the fantasy of total vulnerability. To sleep around a predator is death. To sleep around a protector is safety. By allowing you to access her body while she's unconscious, she's exercising the ultimate form of trust. But the dirty part is that she wants you to exploit that trust slightly. She wants you to take advantage of her passivity. She wants to feel your hands on her, changing her position, manipulating her limbs while she is essentially a ragdoll. It reinforces the dynamic that you are the active force, the relentless engine of desire that doesn't wait for a formal invitation. She wants to wake up to the feeling of you inside her. It tells her, I desire you so much that I cannot wait for you to wake up. It is a rejection of the negotiation of sex. It is a unilateral declaration of your need. Of course, this exists within the context of an established relationship, but within that context, she wants you to stop asking, "Are you tired?" and start proving that your desire overrides her fatigue. She wants to be the object that you simply pick up and use because the urge is too strong to ignore. Part 5. The resistance paradox and the congruence test. The mechanism of defense. Why she will fight you. At first, you now possess the 7 keys to the dark side of female desire. However, simply knowing these things is not enough. If you attempt to implement these dirty behaviors tonight, you will likely face immediate resistance. This is the trap where 90% of men fail. You will grab her forcefully, or you will speak to her with degradation and she will pull away. She might say, "What is wrong with you?" or "Stop acting weird." The average man hears this, panics, retreats into his shell, and apologizes. He thinks he made a mistake. The reality is he just failed the congruence test. When you switch from being a safe, predictable, nice guy to a man who exercises his dark biological imperatives, her brain sounds an alarm. She needs to verify if this new behavior is a genuine transformation or just a desperate act you learned from a video. She wants the monster, but she needs to know the monster is real. She will shit test you. She will act offended. She will feign disinterest. This is not a rejection of the act. It is a test of your frame. She is essentially asking, are you strong enough to override my resistance? Do you believe in your own dominance enough to persist? The dirty secret here is that she wants you to ignore her initial verbal protest, provided it is a playful test and not genuine danger. This requires high social intelligence. When she says you're being mean, she's often begging you to double down. She wants you to smirk, look her in the eyes and say, "You haven't seen mean yet," and then continue. If you crumble and say, "I'm sorry, I was just trying something new," you have proven that you are still the weak man she is bored with. You must understand that her resistance is part of the foreplay. It is the friction that creates the spark. She builds the wall solely so you can smash through it. The reintegration phase. Silence as a weapon. After the act, after the degradation, the roughness, and the biological marking, what you do next defines the longevity of her attraction. The dirty desire extends to the aftermath. She does not want you to ask, "Was that okay?" or "Did you like that?" Asking for feedback instantly kills the mystique. It turns a primal experience into a customer service transaction. Instead, she wants the reintegration. This is where you hold her, pull her close, and provide physical warmth, but you remain verbally silent. You must effectively communicate. "I have broken you, and now I am putting you back together." This is the aftercare of the alpha. It creates a traumatic bond, not in the abusive sense, but in the chemical sense. You took her to the edge of fear and pain, and now you are the source of her safety and oxytocin. This roller coaster of chemicals, dopamine from the anticipation, adrenaline from the fear roughness, and oxytocin from the silent holding, is the strongest addiction known to the female brain. You must maintain the silence of the king. A king does not explain his decrees. He does not justify why he conquered the village. He simply rules it. Do not explain why you were rough. Do not explain why you didn't ask for permission. Let her wonder. Let her analyze it with her friends. Let her replay the tape in her mind. The more she thinks about why you did what you did, the more obsessed she becomes. You are occupying real estate in her mind by being an enigma. The reality distortion field. Overwriting her logic. Finally, to truly master these dirty desires, you must understand that you are fighting her logic. Her logic tells her she wants a feminist ally. Her logic tells her she wants a 50-50 partnership. Her logic is a liar. You must create a reality distortion field. This means that when you are with her, your reality acts as the absolute truth. If you treat her like a slut, she becomes a slut in that moment, regardless of her PhD or her CEO title. This requires you to view her not as she presents herself to the world, but as the animal she is beneath the clothes. You must look at her with X-ray vision. When you speak to her, even in non-sexual situations, maintain a subtext that says, "I know what you really are." This subtle gaslighting, convincing her that her polite persona is the fake one and the dirty submissive is the real one, is the ultimate psychological hook. You are the only one who sees the truth. She will become addicted to you because around everyone else she has to perform the exhausted role of the modern woman. But around you, she can finally collapse into her true dark nature. We have dissected the 7 specific desires, but these are not isolated tricks you perform like a trained monkey. They are symptoms of a core identity shift. You cannot fake this in the bedroom if you are a coward in the boardroom. To sustain this level of attraction, you must integrate the shadow protocol into your daily existence. This is the final piece of the puzzle. First, you must master the predatory gaze. Most men look at women with a pleading expression, seeking approval. Their eyes say, "Do you like me?" You must train your eyes to say, "I am evaluating you." When you look at her, do not break eye contact first. Hold it until she feels a spike of anxiety. That anxiety is the precursor to arousal. In your daily life, stop smiling to diffuse tension. Let the tension sit in the room. Let her feel the weight of your silence. The man who is comfortable with silence is the man who controls the frame. Second, you must practice the benevolent denial. The nice guy thinks saying yes to everything makes her happy. Biology dictates that saying yes makes you a servant. You must start saying no to small requests, not out of spite, but out of self-prioritization. When she asks you to do something that conflicts with your purpose, decline without apology. This triggers the scarcity principle. It reminds her that your time and attention are limited resources that she must compete for. When you finally do give her your time, it becomes high-value currency. Third, you must embody the unwavering rock. Her emotions will be a hurricane: chaos, tears, anger, joy. Your role is not to join the hurricane, but to stand still within it. When she tests you with emotional volatility, do not react. Do not raise your voice. Do not plead. Simply look at her with that same dark, calm intensity. This non-reaction is the ultimate display of strength. It tells her that her chaos cannot move you. This is what allows her to surrender to you in the bedroom. If she can rattle you with words, she cannot trust you with her body. The final verdict, the burden of the awakened man. You now carry a heavy burden. You know the truth that society tries to suppress. You know that the modern woman is at war with her own biology. Her logical brain demands equality, but her primal brain screams for submission. She will never tell you these 7 things. She cannot. The social cost is too high. She's waiting for you to be perceptive enough, brave enough, and dangerous enough to give her what she needs without her having to ask. If you continue to play the role of the polite, sanitized, safe male, you will be loved, you will be appreciated, and you will be the perfect roommate. But you will never be the object of her dark, consuming obsession. She will look for that elsewhere, perhaps in the pages of a romance novel, perhaps in a fantasy, or perhaps in another man who understands what you refuse to learn. The choice is yours. You can remain in the matrix of polite society, or you can step into the abyss of true nature. The dirty things she wants are not about disrespect. They are about the highest form of intimacy. The intimacy of the animal, the raw, the unfiltered, and the real. The call to action: most men have already clicked away from this video. They were offended, scared, or their egos could not handle the reality that they have been doing it wrong their whole lives. But you are still here. This separates you from the herd. You have the potential to master the dark psychology of attraction. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have only scratched the surface of the female psyche. There are deeper levels of manipulation, control, and psychological dominance that we cannot discuss in a public video without being censored. If you are ready to go further, if you are ready to completely deprogram the lies you were told about women and relationships, you know what you have to do. Hit the subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell, not because I need your validation, but because you need this information to survive in the modern mating market. We are building an army of men who refuse to apologize for their nature. Are you in or are you prey? The next video will dismantle the lie of emotional connection and teach you how to become the cold prize she chases. Do not miss it.